Hi, Chris Ford here from chrisandjennyford.com, and welcome to part 8 in our Internet Basics course. How do you go about getting your domain hosted? Well, what you need to do is find yourself a hosting account. Now, there's lots of choices out there. If you do a Google search for hosting account, you'll come back with thousands of results. And you need to do a little bit of research really to find one that works for you. A couple of things to look at. The US-based hosts are typically cheaper. So if you're in the US, obviously that's a no-brainer. If you're outside the US, it can be tempting to go with a local host. But really, unless all of your customers and visitors are going to be in your own country, then you're better off being in the US anyway, because the connectivity to the internet in the US is so much better than in most other countries, and your hosting will be cheaper. A couple of options that we use personally are Bluehost and IX Web Hosting. But there are many others. Just look about. And hosting is often sometimes included with other services. So if you're a Riptoit customer, then you get free hosting as part of that package. And if you use any of the integrated site builder hosting services like BigPixie and SiteBuilder, again, hosting is part of that. So what are things to look for in a good host? Well, you want to look at someone who's been around a while. A company that's been around a while is obviously one that's successful, has customers, has managed to retain its customers. You want to look for one that's got 24/7 support. There's nothing worse than having your e-commerce site down, customers not being able to buy a product from you, and you not being able to get support from your hosting company. You want one that gives you support. You want to look for one that provides you with a decent way of managing your hosting account. Now, most people use a product called cPanel, Control Panel Management, which is how you get into your account and manage it. There's a few others, but if you find one that's got cPanel, then you know it's going to be fairly straightforward to manage. I like to see hosts that have got a forum where I can interact with and speak to other customers of the hosting company. I feel there that if a company is willing to let its customers talk to each other and talk about it in public, then that's a good sign that you're going to get a good product. If their product was no good, then they wouldn't want you talking about it. I look to see whether they have an uptime guarantee. These aren't always worth the paper they're written on, and they don't always mean what they seem. But again, you're looking for somebody who's willing to at least stand behind their product. And you're looking at price. Price is not the prime factor here. I wouldn't necessarily go with the cheapest host, but clearly you're not going to go with one that's 3 times the market price. So, as I mentioned in a previous step, really I look at around about $10 a month for my hosting account, and there are plenty of good options out there that will let you do that. One of the things you can do is just search on Google and look for reviews and comments. Look for what people say about hosts in the various forums that are out there. Find one that appeals to you. And when you choose a host, you'll need to actually get your hosting account. And what you need to begin with is you need a domain name to start with to create your hosting account. Now, often hosting companies will provide you with this domain name for free when you start. So when you choose one, have a look whether they do or not. And if they do, then you can register your first domain name as part of the process of signing up with that host. If they don't, then you'll need to go to one of the registrars and get a domain name first. Because that first domain becomes the main domain from your account and is required to set the account up. And you can then create new domains, the so-called add-on domains, within your hosting account after you've created it, and you can add as many add-on domains as you like. Pretty much most hosting accounts these days allow you to have unlimited domains. And then once you've got your hosting account and you logged into the control panel, it'll look something like this. And I just really wanted to point out some of the key features in here so you'll know them when you get your hosting account. The control panel is divided into sections which provide various functions grouped together. So the first one here that I've got on mine is the domain management function. So this is where you go if you want to add a new add-on domain. So if I've created my hosting account, we see here that my main domain on this hosting account is gameshobbyworld.com. Now if I want to add a new domain, excuse me, say trampolinesnow.com, then I would go here and I would click on add-on domains and I would add the trampolinesnow.com domain to my hosting account. There are then some file management options. So the file manager lets you go into your hosting account and see all the files in your hosting account, and you can actually go in there and you can move files, upload files, edit files, change the names of files. Sometimes if you just want to do a small change, that can be a convenient way to go, but mostly I would recommend just using your FTP client like FileZilla to do that part of the process, and we'll talk about that later. All hosting accounts will have a section to deal with emails, so that you can create email accounts. So on each of your domains you'll want to have a number of email accounts so that people can email you at that domain. You might have a sales@domain.com or info@domain.com and so on. They'll also provide you with webmail access so that you can access the mail for all of your accounts via the web. This is obviously useful if you're traveling. What we typically do is we run a mail client on our PCs and we download them, but you can also access them via webmail. And then there's a number of other things you can do and configure around mail. Another key feature of the control panel is a service called Fantastico, which most control panel accounts will support, and this is something you want to look for when you're looking for a hosting account. What Fantastico lets you do is install various software packages on your hosting with the click of a button. So if you wanted a blog, for example, you go into Fantastico and you say, please install WordPress on my domain, and it will go away and it will do all of the installation for you, and you will have WordPress installed without having to do any of the work. And you can do the same thing with shopping carts, content management systems like Joomla, and various other packages, forums and so on. You can install those very easily via Fantastico. And the last thing you want to look at in your hosting is the logging. You want to be able to see the statistics that are gathered by your host for your websites. It's very important to know how many people are visiting your site, where are they coming from, what pages are they going to, what keywords did they use to find your site, and you can find all that information through the statistics packages that are included in your hosting. Okay, so that's our overview of your hosting to get your domain name hosted, and then we'll move on to the next part.